Hello there, I'm Richard from Medusa Games and welcome to part 1 of the walkthrough video for Magnificent Fly Machines, the new board game from Medusa Games. This video is intended to give you an overview of the components in Magnificent Fly Machines, as well as how to set up the game for the first play. So, what have we got? Well, Magnificent Fly Machines is an air race based around the early air races of around 1910 to 1913. And so we have a race course. The race course is made up of these terrain tiles. There are different types of terrain tiles, and in the second video we will explain what the elements on the boards are all about. The other components in the game are the dashboards. There is a dashboard for each of the 6 fly machines, and this is where you control your fly machine, where all the information about what your fly machine can do and what it is carrying is represented. The fly machine is also represented actually on the race course with these tokens, which come with bases that you stick to them. Normally obviously they'll be going along like this, but we will show them laid down like that because you are looking at this from overhead. The game has lots of tokens, so let's have a look at a few of them. This is a spare part for take-off tests, this is a spare part for flying tests, and this is a spare part for landing tests. These will help you pass tests that you may otherwise have failed, but are one use only. You also have cargo. Cargo comes in 2 different sorts. General cargo, which wants to go to the end final airfield, and special cargo that wants to be delivered to a specific type of location. This is a water tile. This is a mountain special cargo. Here we have a town special cargo, and this is a field special cargo. You will notice on them there are icons which match the icons of the relevant terrain tiles that the general cargo wants to be, the special cargo wants to be delivered to. These are the general cargo and come in 2 flavours, 1-point and 2-point varieties. These are passenger tokens that want to have their time in the air and you will carry to a town or an airfield. The orange tokens are victory point markers, used for general victory points which you might claim during the game, but also laid on the terrain tiles to represent first to land markers and can be claimed if you're the first pilot to do a safe landing on that tile. The airfields, this is the middle airfield, over here we have the final airfield, have blue tokens, victory point tokens, and these are race place sort of markers which represent how far you are in the race. So the first person to get to this airfield will take the top marker, the second that marker, and the third that marker. In a 4-player game, the 4th player would not get any points for that stage. Other tokens, well, sometimes equipment and pilots modify the abilities of the fly machines, and so we have these ability markers which are used to modify the abilities of the planes, and you place them on the dashboard. These are luck tokens which you sometimes gain if you have had a bad turn, and give you a chance to pass a test later in the game. These are damage markers which you will gain on one of those bad turns and place on your fuel gauge to show damage has been done to your fly machine. There are tokens, there are wooden cubes in the game. Grey cubes are what we call charge markers and are placed on equipment cards to show the number of uses that you have in the game. The coloured cubes represent the fuel for that flying machine, and so there are 4 cubes in 6 colours that match the colour of the base of your fly machine. These are the bases for the fly machines, and you affix these to the flying machine tokens when you start the game. The game also comes with dice, 10 of these dice with the symbols for flying, takeoff and landing, and also the explosion symbols, which usually represent some sort of potential disaster having occurred to your flying machine. there are many cards. These cards are tricks and boost cards, and come in two flavours: dirty trick cards, which you will play under the players, and more numerous are the boost cards, which you use to assist your game. Dark coloured backgrounds for the trick cards, light coloured backgrounds for the boost cards. These are equipment cards with the spanners on, and there are 24 of these in the game, which you will add to your fly machine to give it some additional benefit. These are pilot cards. There are 18 of these, which will pop into the fly machine again to give it some particular peculiar advantage or ability in the game. Now, that's pretty much it for the components. The only other things are the rule book, which exist in English and German, and also the summary cards, one for each player, again in English and in German. The summary card is just that. It is an abbreviation of the rules. It is not intended to represent all of a 24-page rulebook. So sometimes it is necessary, when you're unfamiliar with a rule, to first of all check it in the main rulebook. This is an aide-memoire. It is a help in the game, just to give you a reminder of the processes that you go through. It is not intended to represent every rule that is in the book. So I just say that because sometimes people occasionally feel that all the rules should be on a summary card. I think that's missing the point of summary cards. So the other things are just the plastic bags. You have some plastic bags for putting all your bits and pieces in. Okay, so those are your components. Now let's lay out the game for a 4-player game. 4-player game will have full fly machine dashboards in. So first of all, let's lay out the course. The course is laid out in increasing order with these tiles. Each of the tiles has a number on. Number 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 through to 11. In the preset version of the game, the one we suggest the first time you play this, just lay it out like that. Don't have to think about it, just do it in increasing order. Okay? Then go and grab the weather tiles that look like these and place these at the top of the terrain boards, the terrain tiles. The first airfield has no weather on it. The second tile has one but face up. All the other spaces are occupied by weather tiles face down. They will get revealed during the game. At the bottom of each of the terrain tiles there are spaces for certain elements. So this just represents the resources that you can collect on the tile. You don't put anything there, but here you put a victory point marker as represented by the numbers. So 1 point here, a 2 point here, a 3 point here and a 4 point here, and so on. You don't put these on the middle airfield. The middle airfield is populated by the race place markers, and I'll come to that in a moment. You put passengers in these spaces here as represented by these numbers. It is probably easiest the first time you play to use a preset layout, and that can be found on page 6. If you look at this chart, you will see that the field space here, this space here, should have a 1 point victory point marker on it, and it should also have a passenger, and it should have 2 cargoes, a town and a mountain special cargo, which these are here. So you go along putting the relevant cargoes into the onto the course, and the passengers and the victory points all the way along the course. Okay. You also just tidy these bits and bobs away. Then place the race place markers. These are, they can be summarised on a chart which is on page what is it there? Page 8 here at the bottom here. Depending on the number of players, we are playing a 4-player game, so I'm going to put 7, 4 and 3 on the middle airfield, and I'm going to put 8, 5 and 3 on the final airfield. Let's set up the dashboards. randomly work out who the first player is. You go roll 5 dice and see who gets the most flying symbols, or use some other mechanism. Who most recently flew on a plane, perhaps. Give them one of the dashboards. Take the dashboard and place it with the preset side face up. There are 2 sides, a blank side like that, which you can configure when you get used to the game, and the preset side like that, which contains information about all the various bits of equipment, which we'll come back to in more detail. So take your preset dashboard. You will see the preset already has a pilot printed on it, so you don't actually need the pilot cards for this preset version of the game. You'll use them when you customize your own flying machines later. Find the deck of equipment cards, these equipment cards, and look for the ones that are named at the bottom of the dashboard. St Christopher here, Lucky Locket there, for example. Put those cards underneath in their slots. If the cards have little spaces, like this does for little grey cubes, put the charge markers there to show that you have limited uses of those that machine, that piece of equipment. Up here you may find that some of the fly machines are modified by the either the pilot or the equipment. So the biplane here has a finely tuned engine which gives it, you can see on the card here, an extra dice for takeoff tests. So we take the relevant dashboard ability marker and pop that there. This fly machine, which is the helicopter, has got Amelia Skyfoot. She gets +2 to her flying, so you drop that in there. You can also see a little transparent symbol where the token is meant to go, just like that. You follow the same process with the tokens up here in the cargo spaces. This is the internal cargo spaces of the fly machine. This is the external cargo spaces of the fly machine. So I have a look here and I can see little takeoff symbols, so I put spare parts there, a couple of flying spare part symbols there. This is a water cargo symbol, takeoff, and 2 more flying symbols. So I populate my cargo like that. Over here we need to have a mountain cargo in there, and there are all the spare parts. You take the cubes that match your colour and place that on your fuel gauge. Every player gets 3 trick and boost cards face down like that. You give the first player the deck of weather change cards, which will affect the weather as the race goes on. Give every player a summary card, and then you essentially are good to go. Each player will place their flying machine with the correctly coloured base on the first airfield, and the first player then grabs the dice and it chocks away and up into the big blue sky. We will see you later for the second part of this video walkthrough, how to play the game.